Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your boy Demuir here, chilling as usual in the studio. I'm here to switch things up to talk about a deep or Afro deep house remix I did for Doc Link and Rescue Poetic called Carrier, the Demuir's Deep Inside edit. I'm going to step you through just my thought process and approach to this remix. I'm often known to do Jackin House, and it's predominantly where I vibe, but I produce in many different genres, including Afro, Deep House, Techno, Tech House, and Samba, Hip Hop, as well as Jackin. So I love Afro Deep House because it allows me an opportunity to connect with the music at a very deep and spiritual level as a musician. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but the things that I experience when actually physically playing notes and having the vibes just sort of move through you to help describe your creativity or express yourself in a different way. I mean, I love Jackin House and everything and sampling and chopping up beats and stuff, but I mean, deep Afro house allows me a whole other level of creativity from the traditional way I approach producing house music. So this remix was interesting because when Doc Link had sent me the remix parts for this, I spent a considerable amount of time just listening to her vocal, and it's absolutely stunning.
I have witnessed sunsets over mountains, at the lip of gaping canyons, on rooftops, as the sun dips behind skyscrapers, from a bird's eye view through glass.
There's a lot of deep stuff going on in there, but I've listened to the vocals several times before I even started the remix, and I just wanted to get a sense of what Rescue, in this case was Rescue Poetix, was trying to express, and I wanted to do it justice musically. So I spent a considerable amount of time listening to the vocal, and you know, with Afro House, I personally found that the music was getting a little boring. Everything was starting to sound the same, and that's the beauty of producing in different genres. It forces you to bring a different approach, and you're influenced by those different genres you produce in. So when it came to this project, I knew if I'm going to do Afro House, and I've done other deep house beats on Nick Holder's D&H label and other various projects that are out there, but those were more sample based, and I wanted to make sure if we're talking true deep house, not the watered down boardroom bullshit that, you know, the mass market or media wants you to believe, but the real true essence of deep house and with an Afro component. So I felt that should center around the actual Afro beats. If you're familiar with Fela Kuti and Tony Allen, who was his drummer, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Here's the beat that I found in my sound library, and I messed around with it. I switched it around because I do play drums as well, and this worked for me. There's a little bit of phase going on in it that I'm realizing now, but you can hear the dynamics in it. It's this real straight Afro beat. So with that and the vocal, I knew I would be onto something, but I still didn't really have a melody. So one of the things I do just taken back from, you know, a lot of things that my dad, who is also a musician, told me. You know, one of the things you typically get in the habit of doing is practicing your scales. So I was messing around on my bass and going through scales, and then I just happened to be like, you know what would it sound like if I went And those were the first 3 notes, and then I wrote another scale, and it took me a few tries to get at it, but I'm gonna let you hear the bass line, because between the Afro drums and her vocal, the bass line really became the center point of this remix, because it's completely different, it's dynamic, it keeps you interested in what's going on, and you know, I think it just worked out well. So check it out. Right there. So that's just straight scales. Through a lot of practice, and I finally recorded it, sampled it, got it down. And you know, then I created some variations, right? So a different accent on the 3rd note, right? I'll play it again. So all these things going on in the track keep the listener interested. So I'm gonna play it with the Afrobeat. So you can see in my approach here, now that I got the bass line and I know the key of the bass line because it's a scale I was practicing, I knew I can build a nice little melody to fall over it. Leave this, but I loaded up Fender Rhodes. Y'all know I love my Fender Rhodes. And what I did is I listened to the bass line. Like that. So that's where I mess with that. Now I got my melody down. That just worked. And knowing that her voice is just crazy beautiful. Like, I always go back and check that things fit. I mean, I'll just say it, but spiritually there's things that drive you to do things. You don't understand it at the certain time, but you do it because spiritually the energy is moving you there to create this. And 9 times out of 10 it generally works, where I can even listen to these things in isolation, and based on that energy, you know, I trust its guidance. So
at the edge of dance floors, silhouettes in her echo. Each one brings something different.
You can see there's
carries its own memories and fire.
You can see there's a conversation happening.
Single one births
between the bass line and her vocal.
Till dawn.
So based on that,
at the edge of dance floors, silhouettes.
I heard like a sweeping chord that I knew would work to just glue the melody and the bass line together. So it was this pad here. I'm not even sure what it is. Where did I get that? Oh, it's from a mini Moog by Arturia. Plastic Snow is the sound. So let's just listen to that in isolation. This is just absolutely beautiful. It's just begging to say, stay with me on this. Here, I'll play her vocal.
Mountain.
Play her vocal here.
On rooftops, as the sun dips behind skyscrapers, from a bird's eye view through glass, at the edge of dance floors, silhouettes in her echo.
So you can see it all, it's just all making
Each
sense.
one brings something different.
You know what I mean?
Each carries its own memories and fire. Each single one births a new night. Carrier till dawn. I have witnessed sunsets over mountains, at the lip of gaping canyons.
It's just all making sense, and here it is with the bass line.
Each one brings something different.
Bring
Dance
it back.
floors, silhouettes in her echo. Each one brings something different. Each carries its own memories and fire. Each single one births a new night.
So, I don't know. So this track, I really don't know, because the original tempo of this was like a 126, and after hearing her vocal in isolation, it really put me to about 122 BPMs. Very soulful. Anyway, so now that I have the melodies, bass lines, everything interacting with one another, I went back to the beat, and I just felt something was missing. And with true Afro deep house, there's a lot of undertone things that are happening that to the ear aren't necessarily apparent up front, but it needs to be there to glue the beat together. So I just added a straight like shuffling of tambourines and a light conga, right? It just makes sense. Bring in the Fender Rhodes again. And of course the bass line. And there you have it. That's essentially the source of the remix for Carrier, my Demuir's Deep Inside edit. And then after that, I just added straight lace house beats that people are used to and understand. So let's hear it all back.
Thanks for the day, yielding into the night. She lowers me below the horizon, a farewell kiss of heat on cool lapping waters. She surrenders with poise, preparing for her ride.
And there you have it. Carrier remix, Doc Links and Iman's Liberate Records. I believe it's on Liberate, or maybe it's Modulate Coast Digital. I'm sorry, Doc, I forgot. But Rescue Poetix on the vocal. So thank you for taking this journey with me. Deep house, you know, you can do these things, produce in many different genres, add your own element to it as an influence of those genres. And in this case, I'd say the snare and the way I pumped up the snare from the Afrobeat beat break is a Jackin thing. Jackin music, snares are often needing to be tight and upfront to really present impact and some punch, and I try to balance that as best as I could against Rescue's vocal. So thank you for spending some time with me on this, and continue to check in again with me on youtube.com/DemuirPierre. Peace.